All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the REI Deal Breakdown on the Real Estate Investing Fast Track podcast. I'm your host, Greg Helbeck, and before I talk about the property that we wholesaled today, if you're new to the show, my name is Greg Helbeck. I've done well over 160 real estate flips and wholesales and rentals and whatnot. I don't have 160 rentals yet, but I've transacted over 160 properties. So the goal of this show is to share what I've learned through my experience as a real estate investor with you. So if you're new, you can get started. If you're experienced, you can get more momentum in your business. So without further ado, I'm going to talk today about 124 Union School Road in Montgomery, New York. Once again, that's 124 Union School Road in Montgomery, New York. The way that we found this deal was through a joint venture partner. So my buddy Levi down in Long Island reached out to me a couple months ago and said, "Hey, I got this property in Montgomery. Have you ever done business there?" And I said, "Yes, I have." We've actually done pretty well in Montgomery. It's a great little town up in the northern section of Orange County, not too far from Ulster County, New York. And it's actually very expensive, believe it or not. So I told me a little bit about the deal. I said, all right, I think we could probably do this deal and let's JV it 50-50. He said, that sounds like a plan. Bring a buyer and we'll split it 50-50. I said, sounds like a plan to me. He got the property under contract at a decent price. And I went out to the marketplace and used my email software that I always use called Active Campaign. And I blasted out the wholesale deal, and we ended up finding a buyer for around $20,000. So the way I found the buyer was actually through a real estate agent. So a real estate agent named is Jeff reached out to me and said, "Hey, is that property still available?" I said, "Yes, it is." He said, "I think I have somebody for you. Can we come out and see it?" So I said, "Sure." I had Jeff go out there, and he took his client who was the ultimate buyer for this property. And he went out there and he saw the property. They liked it. They put an offer in at full price. I believe I agreed to pay Jeff a percentage of the sale in the form of a commission, which is what I normally do with real estate agents if I don't have any other offers that are better than that. And his buyer was all cash, I believe. They were really serious. They weren't jerking me around. He signed an assignment agreement. And at the end of the day, when the dust settled, it was a $20,000 net profit to Levi and I walked away with about $10,000. So not a bad payday for basically sending an email and conducting some traffic on the back end. So what are some lessons that you can take away from this deal that you can apply in your business? Well, the first lesson is that you need to work with your competition. So Levi is primarily in Long Island. He decided to come up into the Hudson Valley and do some business, which is fine. I have no control over that. And I think it's a great thing because there's a ton of deals out here. So he knew that I was a big player in the Hudson Valley. And he said, "Hey, let me work with Greg and see if he can sell my deal for me." And that ended up being the case. So you got to work with your competition. I've made this a point in other videos that I've shared on other deals we've done. Like, you want to have an abundance mindset. You don't want to look at your competition as people you want to stab and compete against and, be nasty to. You want to be friends with these people. You want to be, in the mindset of having a long-term beneficial relationship for both parties. So you got to work with your competition, right? That's the first thing. The second lesson I'll tell you on this one is you got to have a really good database of buyers and realtors to sell your deals, because there's a lot of value as a wholesaler if you have a really strong buyers list, not necessarily a big buyers list. A good list could probably be 200-300 people who are actually serious. I think we have like 600 in the Hudson Valley, around there. And they're all real buyers on there. So I always tell people, if you have a deal in the Hudson Valley or in Delaware or in San Diego, or even in Connecticut at this point, if you want to partner with me, if it's a deal, I guarantee you we'll sell it, right? We'll sell it for probably the best price, most likely on a wholesale basis. So you got to look at your buyers list as an asset. And that's an asset that literally threw 10K in my pocket without me having to talk to a seller, without me having to make an offer, without me having to physically go to a property. I literally sent an email. And because the buyers list is so valuable and I have the relationships I have, I was able to turn that asset that I normally use on my own deals into a $10,000 JV deal from someone else's deal where I barely had to do any work. So you got to focus, once you're established and you're doing deals, on always building and nurturing that buyers list, because there is so much value you can bring to somebody else, especially when they're not from the area. So those are the big two lessons. And then the third lesson is, listen, if you're working with another wholesaler and they can't move their deal for some reason, like, you can ask for 50% to start, because they don't work with you. They might not be able to sell it. So you can command a 50% JV fee if the deal warrants that, because if they don't want to do that, then they probably can't sell their deal, and then they're not going to be able to help the seller out. So that's another thing that I took away from this deal. So hopefully you got value from this. And hey, if you're in the Hudson Valley, if you're in Delaware, if you're in San Diego and you want to JV with me, send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com. Or if you're just a wholesaler and you want to wholesale me a deal, if the numbers make sense, I'll buy it myself and flip it or rent it. So send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com, or you can Instagram direct message me at grego_37. I will see you on the next REI Deal Breakdown. Take care.